Welcome to Real Talk with Real Taxpayers, where we stay awake in a world that wants you asleep. Imagine you're a newborn baby. You take one breath, and that's it. That's your whole earthly life. So Christianity says that a newborn who dies goes straight to heaven, yet a 40-year-old who lived a good life still has to go through the trials of earth to get there. Why is that? Is that fair? And what does that mean about the soul? These are the questions or the conundrum we're going to explore today. This question isn't about theology for me. It's about the soul's continuity and understanding who we are during and after life. I want to start with the official Christian explanation just to frame this. So every soul is created by God. This is from the Christianity standpoint. Every soul is created by God. Every soul is eternal. A baby who dies goes directly to heaven. The explanation for why is we don't know the plan. We trust God. There's some mystery to it. That said, even Christians are privately struggling with the question because it introduces something interesting. Fairness. Why does one soul need to have the full human experience and another doesn't? And is that fair? To expand onto that, if earthly life is a test in a way, why do some souls get the full test and others don't? If experience grows the soul, why do some souls get to skip that human experience, so to speak? And what does it say about identity, purpose, and continuity? Have you guys ever wondered about the purpose of your life if some souls get to skip the process, so to speak, and still end up in the same destination? The spiritualist standpoint, on the other hand, is every soul has its own unique path. There are no accidents. The atheist standpoint is there is no soul. Death ends consciousness. No fairness question even exists in this scenario. And to a reincarnation believer, short life is just one chapter. The soul continues learning in the next body. Now, I want to do a thought experiment on this, just in terms of logical thinking. And by the way, I'm not saying that I have the answers, because I definitely don't. I just have the questions, and I want to invite you guys to reflect on these questions with me. And I want to give you a peek into how my brain processes these questions, because these are thoughts that I think about frequently. From the reincarnation or the continuity frame, which is what I personally subscribe to, a mixture between Christianity and continuity, if you believe in the book of Enoch and Genesis and a lot of other writings that were not included in our formal Bible, so to speak, but that's a story for another time. The reincarnation belief is that no soul gets skipped, no soul gets cheated, short lives are not wasted, and each soul has multiple opportunities because growth is cumulative across multiple lifetimes. And to me, the continuity of the soul, it just makes a lot of sense because it's the only angle that actually solves the fairness question. And it explains why we're here, why we struggle, and why some lives are longer, and some are shorter. And the way I look at this is Earth is incredibly complex. And life is incredibly complex. And every little event mixed with free will creates it's like a domino, this crazy, complicated, intricate, beautiful domino effect story that we call life. And I can personally relate to so many incidences in my life where, looking back, especially in hindsight, it's just comical how interconnected all of these events and incidents were, and that one tiny little experience led to the second little domino, and that second domino brought on this thing, and this thing has brought this incredible, massively, what I feel is important thing into my life. That makes sense, because even if you, to not sideline too much, but even if you look at the complexity of our DNA and our human body and the cells and the nerves and like how many miles of nerve connections and all of these little things, and also know that one tiny little mistake or fidget from that and all of this is, collapses and doesn't work anymore. In fact, borderline one element change in the whole universe or the world as we know it doesn't exist, and it's not sustainable to life as we know it. So Christianity also subscribes to the belief that there is an something that's referred to as an intelligent designer. Someone, God, that is outside of this, that is intelligent enough to design this in an intelligent way. These are actually from Thomas Aquinas's logical proofs to the existence of God. There's also the unmoved mover among those, right? The something that has to be outside of the thing that pushed the first domino and kind of started that whole effect. But for this specific short episode, I want to focus on the intelligent designer or the intelligent architect. And the intelligent architect paints and creates life in a very intricate way that, if you subscribe to the reincarnation belief, is very intentional. And you have this beautiful play that's mixed with free will, so to speak. And I think that's the beauty of life is this kind of upholds the multiple realities or the multiple instances. Like in this reality, we're recording this podcast. In another alternate dimension, the same me is doing something else or saying something else. And those dimensions get separated by the choice we make in the now, so to speak. Like we're turning through the path of life with the choices that we make right now in the now. And one altering choice, and it's a different path that it could have gone, and I think some choices are obviously have less weight than others. For example, are you going to have pickles on your burger or not, versus are you going to marry this person or this person? There's choices that are going to have a lot bigger impact and ramifications for that. But where does all of this lead? Whatever belief system you have, whether it's you believe in heaven, whether you believe in reincarnation, whether you believe in something else, the deeper question is, what does that mean for your soul's path? What do you believe happens to the identity of a soul after death? Does the idea of fairness matter in your understanding of the afterlife? When I overdosed and found myself in the hospital like Matrix space, staring at the rows of people in sleep trance, I remember feeling two opposite things at the same time. My soul felt calm, eternal, like it understood something, but my body was panicking. My body thought, why am I the one that has to suffer? Why do I have to endure all of this while the soul is the one that gets to continue? And that's the moment I realized that the fairness question is not just theoretical, it's very personal. We've been talking on hypotheticals, and I want to tie another hypothetical, but a more specific and descriptive hypothetical so we can better picture these questions. Let's just entertain for a second that the soul is continuous, right? Whether you believe it or not, for the sake of the argument, even if you don't believe it, just hypothetically, let's imagine for a second that the soul is continuous, and that continuity looks like reincarnation, where you come in and live multiple lives through different bodies and people. In that specific scenario, when you look at, for example, a newborn baby that dies, to kind of come full circle to that moment, one possible explanation is, especially if, in that sense, let me take two steps back. Let me frame this correctly, and then we'll get right back into this. So in the reincarnation scenario, one premise of the soul's journey could be argued that it is the discovery of the polar opposites of light and dark to really grow our soul in empathy. I think empathy is one of the big life goals on a soul journey, is to really experience different views, like to experience the purest form of love. I've made this analogy before. You have to experience the darkest form of heartbreak. So you have a comparison between the two and understand that light, dark, yin yang type of thing. So now back to this newborn baby example. Newborn baby is born, dies very young, and is left with heartbroken parents. And who knows, maybe it was, and once again, if we believe in this intelligent architect that can write the perfect movie and create this perfect thing that's beautiful and also centered around free will, then maybe it's that newborn baby's possibly last tour, so to speak, right? It's their last tour on Earth, and their soul is now mature enough they don't need to come back to Earth anymore because they've gathered all the experiences that Earth has to offer to them. And for those parents, the lesson they needed to grow through is understanding that heartbreak and understanding how painful that is to grow through that, and also having the free will and the body to choose to either go through that in the dark way or in a light way, and how they come out with that, and to live and experience that. I think that reincarnation offers a much more logically satisfying answer to that question, in my opinion, and more intuitive. And by the way, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think, in fact, I subscribe to the belief that they're not mutually exclusive. But at the end of the day, to find some common ground with y'all, none of us really know. You know, not Christians, not atheists, not spiritualists, not people who believe in reincarnation. We all just have frameworks that help us make sense of the mystery. And, you know, that mystery is exactly what makes life interesting. So here's my invitation to you, not to believe what I believe, but to actually sit with these questions yourself. If a soul is not eternal, what does that mean for you? I wanted to give you guys a couple of counter arguments to help contribute to this thought experiment. So maybe not every soul needs the same lessons. Some people believe each soul has different levels of development and only needs the experiences required for its next step. So in this particular view, the fairness in that equation is irrelevant because the curriculum is customized. Another possibility, maybe skipping human life isn't skipping anything. Perhaps the soul just dies as a newborn, isn't avoiding the test. That is their test. The curriculum doesn't, or the duration doesn't equal the weight of the experience. Another counter argument, maybe fairness doesn't exist on the soul level. Fairness is a human construct because humans experience loss and comparison, but souls may operate beyond fairness, time, fear, pain, suffering. Maybe that's not even a concept on a soul level, although the Bible would suggest otherwise. Maybe Earth isn't a test. Maybe Earth is a choice. Some worldviews say souls choose their incarnations. If true, fairness becomes a little bit irrelevant because everything is voluntary. And the final counter argument is, what if souls that leave early play a role in others' growth? And some traditions believe lives exist to capitalize growth, healing, compassion, and awakening in others. Maybe fairness doesn't apply on the soul level. Maybe fairness is just a problem for the body. And this is what I'll leave y'all with. Maybe fairness isn't something that God owes us. Maybe fairness is something that our soul outgrows. My only goal this episode is to get you thinking. So take the part that resonates and leave the rest and just stay awake. Stay curious, stay intentional, and if you're on your own path of figuring all this out, you're not alone. And I'll see you in the next episode. Now go live awake. And if this shook something inside of you, share it with someone still sleepwalking.